Okay, let's start. So a quick intro. Let's call this continuous CD SIG, special interest group first meeting, before we find a much better name, which we might not. Um, so yeah, Semaphore has features for continuous delivery. There are promotions, deployment targets. You can chain promotions and all of that together, which follows the usual CI pipeline. But there are some limitations for some use cases. So we are kicking this off. This is not actually our first meeting, kind of second, maybe third, but previous ones were very high level. We don't have anything really in writing. So idea is to kick this one off, and say produce some artifacts, write down some of the requirements and open questions and so on. Okay, I did not do any intros, but I'm Darko, I'm CTO. We have Alex with us, who is our product manager, and Dan, Damian, who is our architect. So yeah, you will get to know us by the end very well. Okay, so maybe I can start by sharing my browser. I have two things here, like a whimsical for drawing and Google Doc for taking notes. So on the very high level, I'm going to describe what we roughly want to make. So currently in Semaphore, pipelines are created dynamically, use that terminology. So each commit carries a definition of a pipeline. And by that, each new commit can have a different definition of the pipeline. What we want to do here is to have like a statically defined pipeline, where it describes the process, how software is shipped, and then as your artifacts progress from one stage to another, our pipeline progresses. A very concrete example. So let's say that we have a blog that could be describing CI process, meaning build and test. What could come after that would be maybe deploy to staging environments. And then because of the old regulatory things and so on, what we are seeing a lot that a lot of customers have, let's say EU and US clusters, and then potentially in multiple regions. So once something is deployed on staging and let's say approved manually, someone might want to deploy it to US East 1, and then potentially a day later to, for the sake of simplicity, let's just say EU West 2. Okay, so that's a little bit on the high level.
So are there some deployments happening in parallel? This is just a pretty straightforward process.
Yeah, let's do that. This could also go to West 1.
And would it make sense to kind of model the more complex deployment flow where you have dev environment, then staging that goes to multiple regions, and then also you have production?
Yeah, I mean that is an option, but I mean one of the so you can do this with Semaphore today.
Mhm.
So maybe we can focus on what are those requirements that you cannot do with Semaphore today, and we need this flow. So one of them was you want to be deploying to multiple, let's say, targets at the same time. So you want to be potentially deploying and testing things on staging, and here you are, deploying without many reservations,
Mhm.
and then potentially just some of the things you want to progress to the next stage, and you want to deploy to these two stages in parallel, and then potentially 5 days later you want to deploy here.
Yeah, but all of that is kind of possibly already.
I think that the main thing here is it would be nice if we added another layer here, which is version. So let's say if you have one version of
Mm-hmm.
your app and the other version, and then
Here.
these will be in different states. What Arco is saying, you have version 1.1, and that goes
Yeah. So
there, but
this should be also
1.2 is,
source of the truth, which is a big thing.
yeah.
So let's note that here. So what do we have running here is let's say v1.1.1, and that is in the green state, and it's all cool. And then potentially we are working on a new thing here. So what became green here, I don't know if I'm going to regret it that we included the CI part also here. We'll see. We have this here. On staging, let's say we have the same thing.
And so that written thing there is the last thing that went, like that was deployed or was built, right?
Here? Yeah.
Mm. Okay, so
I mean,
maybe we'll need more numbers to like illustrate this good. So like there is something that is deployed, and there should be something in progress, and there should be like a few things in queue,
yeah.
and like various versions on different.
Let's go with 0 here. And let's add a timestamp. 4 days ago. And let's say that the process is once something is deployed in the US, next week on Monday, it's being deployed to the EU. And actually, with various people that have been speaking now, people are deploying to multiple destinations around the world. So it also makes sense to probably add more here. So
Yeah, but and also can you add a line from US West 1 to EU West 2? Because
yeah,
that's something that we're missing also already. So
yeah. So let's just put it like this. So okay, let's say Brazil.
And these are set up from left to right in the order of deployment, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is 3, then this would have version
09.
We can go with that.
Yeah.
I would say here we have the latest, so, or maybe 111 is here.
So how did, oh, 111, sorry. Okay, never mind.
This then should be, or this can be potentially running. We can represent that by below potential.
Can we then maybe make the 111 running, 110 running in EU West, let's say?
Here, what do you want to have here? 111?
Yeah, I just want to have like represented two different versions being deployed, like in different parts,
Mm-hmm.
running. So
Maybe I can be deploying 110 to Japan.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so I think that we now actually managed to represent what is not possible today with Semaphore. Or you definitely can, it's possible, but you cannot have this, representation which is showing different versions across different destinations.
Yeah, because each version is its own workflow, right?
Yeah.
So you can open one workflow per version and see which promotions were triggered. And they would be in different, the 1.2 will just have one promotion, which is staging. 109 would have multiple, but you don't have this current state overview. I wonder if, you could open individual environment if you're using deployment targets, maybe, and see
Yeah, but there is no need
history,
to.
but that's not what this is.
Yeah, no need to current with the current limitations.
yeah, and can we maybe somehow display queue? Let's say that 1.1.2 is waiting in US West to be deployed, or something like that.
I can certainly try.
Yeah, smaller orange box. Let's use orange for Q. Oh, that's our.
So here I'm going to say, what is waiting here? 112, right?
Yeah, and when we say waiting, it's not waiting for.
It is available to be deployed. If you want it, you can have it. I mean, you have to explicitly say that you want it, or
there's some
configurable
process or something, right?
Yeah,
Because in your example, you said that on EU West 2 is deployed 4 days later.
Yeah.
So I guess there is some policy that's defined on when it moves from queue to running.
Yeah. So this queue is, let's say, feeding this. If you want it, if you want that to happen.
Where is 1.5? Could it be the state where staging has 116, but this is
It can be that 1.5 was cancelled, let's say.
okay. That's a good. Yeah, that's actually a good use case.
Oh, not very scalable implementation. Yeah, let's
Maybe
include cancel
yeah,
a bit later.
yeah. Maybe you can strike through like one. Well, let's say 1.4, maybe not 1.5.
Can I do that here?
It should be like if you expand it.
All or nothing.
Yeah, it's okay.
But maybe what we can say here is I mean, this is true for I mean, this is open question, but let's just say that this is true also for these, but it doesn't have to be. Maybe the requirement is that it needs to be shipped first here, and then only then it can be shipped here. And that brings us to
That's the way I understood it from this example. Deploys staging has 116, but there were also a bunch of versions that went through.
so here I can just say 111 then. This is what's available to you, right?
Maybe if
Well,
you update
this,
the others to 1.2, let's say,
Can I make
yeah,
this green and
yeah,
or like that it can be.
yeah, like that it can be because I guess. Well, do you have a well? Maybe there's the policy doesn't require you to have a green deployment on US East 1 in order to deploy to EU East West 2.
I mean, we have heard requests about skipping the versions. I mean, that's one, but now we are entering that arena of.
Yeah, I don't think like the requirement here would be like you had all previous semantic versions deployed here.
Mm-hmm.
The requirement would be like the semantic version that wants to go here had to be deployed to US West and US East. So
Yes.
for a specific version, you have to have like previous checks, but not like all the versions in between had to happen because that might not be the case if you cancel something.
Okay, so in this case, West 2 would not have 111 because West 1 and East 1, US West 1 and US East 1 didn't pass.
Okay.
Only with both are deployed, it's available on EU West 2.
Yeah, but the question is like when does this 1.1.1 enters the queue in this US West 2? Like does that happen as soon as it passes one of US East ones and then like it's in the queue but it is waiting for all the checks, right?
I mean, that's the question. Do we have both of these lines here?
Yeah.
I don't think so. That
It's
necessarily.
it's not but because we can have both of these lines, let's say, but this like the thing in queue is created as soon as
One of them.
one of them passed, but it is waiting for both before it starts running. That's one.
Yeah.
Like this is more of like implementation thing, but like that's one thing, and the other way is like once everything is checked, then we will create it in the queue.
Yeah. I mean, when drawing this queue, I actually more wanted to represent the manual action. If someone can come here, and if I duplicate these, make this separate. If I click on this, I have like, I don't. If all the checks are green, I can give approval to move forward with deploying this to EU. I mean, maybe I can try to draw that state. So you click on this, it becomes whatever. And then here. I mean, checks is one of the major components, so maybe I can just very verbosely represent it here. Checks, and then
those are the requirements, right, for
yeah,
you to start the deployment.
Yeah. But like, I'm not sure, like for you to start, like better to say for deployment to start.
For deployment to start, yes. But it's added in the queue before all checks are completed.
It should be added.
Yeah, it's not in the queue.
it's open question. It can be either way.
There is something that triggers this thing to enter the queue, right? And then once it's
Yes.
in the queue, it waits for checks. Like, because one of the checks is like nothing is running before me, right?
Yeah. So we should also at some point talk a bit about triggers. That's the part that's a bit unknown.
Or maybe I mean, here is one other one. We have different time zones and people are on call and all those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
So as it is working hours in EU. These could be like 3 checks that I can imagine people wanted to have. So these would be approvals. It has been announced to the on-call team and support team and everything that comes with it that supports those processes.
I think you should you should remove this one dot and then click the bullets on that. On 3 dots on next to that icon should be the
Numbers. I'm going to write the numbers manually like this. And let's say that only then.
But like if everything is checked here, then this should be in. It's a great question. If this is manual action, then this is okay. Yes.
That's what I wanted to do. Because for sure, it's definitely an option. It can be automatic or it can be manual. Some people would want this way or some other way, depending on the environment and what's being deployed. And
It could be, and we probably have like 2 different checks for manual and automatic, right?
Yeah, and
I mean, I would say that this promote is number 4 probably.
But
4 is waiting for manual action, and then you have a button below.
you
but
also
not,
need the approve button there, but we don't have to maybe dig into.
But it's done. It's done. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, in this example it is, but you would also there's a policy that you set up.
And there is also who can click on the button, and there are many things.
Yeah, but we don't have to zoom in on that one just yet, but we should work that out too. But okay, there are checks. it can start manually or automatically.
And there are things that are available for you to deploy, and there are things that are not available for you to deploy, that are not available to this environment
For
yet.
example.
A 115. It is
Okay. Okay, but it wouldn't be in that queue list at all.
It wouldn't. It wouldn't be.
Yeah.
I'm just zooming out. I don't know if we should start writing somewhere on the side the high-level components that would need to be in place.
Like this part, like whether it's possible to deploy 1.5 or not,
Mm-hmm.
that's like also not necessarily. It doesn't have to be like that, right? It depends, like, because currently we are still thinking maybe a bit in that dynamic sense where like you have versions that progress and then you cannot, like, the version is coming to each of the blocks, and if it's not like if it didn't pass previous block, it cannot be running this one.
It's
But we can like revert the story and say like, okay, you have new versions that are coming and then you can send them wherever you want, essentially. So like if you click on this box, I can
You-
start here whatever if the checks are built right. So like if
yeah.
Yeah, you can have everything in the queue. It's just gray.
or essentially like you don't have it in the queue, but like you can add to the queue. Like let's say I click on this deploy to Japan and I click on the version 1.15 that
Yeah, that's what
if
I
I
wanted
want,
to say.
right? Like I have a list of available commits and say like, okay, I want this one here
Yeah, they
for
don't
some
have
reason.
to be linear like that, right?
Yeah, they don't have
But
to like
point
flow
is,
through
yeah.
everything, but
the point is, it will probably need to be configurable. That behavior somewhere with one of the.
yes, like we are.
So write down some of these, high-level things that we said. So. And I don't know how we are calling these. We don't have the name. I'm just going to say block.
Yeah, they're not
Blocks,
environments,
block.
right? They're not necessarily environments.
Can be anything.
They can be anything.
I'm going to say block just because we don't want to be called block.
You want to call
So
it like stage, just to not like.
yeah, but the stage is also problematic.
It's fine. We'll think of the
Yeah. All blocks can be running. Blocks have state, and with that comes version, of course. Checks guard blocks from new runs, or let's call them deployments, but they don't need necessarily deployments. And then complexities arise here now with the queue. How is queue populated with new stuff?
Yeah, that's one thing. Then like. All blocks have a state and version. Okay, do we have like you usually have, let's say like if you want to like we deployed something to US East 1 and then we want to check if that is working correctly. So like some
That's
kind
built in.
of
That's built in
after
here.
is that built in inside?
I mean, at this stage, I would say yes. It
Mhm.
might not turn out to be true later.
Okay.
And just some examples.
Yeah, but also like let's say a result of custom script or something like that.
Yeah. So the point being extensible.
Yes.
I mean, there is that
And
a delay. If we want this to be flowing automatically, and that delay of couple of days, or some amount of time later, something else starts. That's what we don't have currently, unless you would write sleep. So that could be also a check.
but you have that this need to be running for X amount of time in previous block, not that is
Yeah,
right.
that satisfies that. Yes, you're right. I mean, whole system needs to have a concept of a version. Now we have only SHA in the system, which again, SHA can be the version, but version tracking.
And do you want to like support multiple kinds of versions? Let's say so we have v1.1.1 of Docker image and v5.3.0 of Terraform code and something else.
I think that
Is that
the
a
purpose
matrix?
the purpose of the version is to marry those two together.
But each of them are also like independently tracked and like let's say if we want to see, okay, we introduced bug in version, like let's say the life cycle is different. So same Terraform will be used for 3 versions of Docker images.
I mean, that versioning game is
Hell, yeah.
is slippery around.
I was thinking about that too. Here we assume that you just have this one artifact that's this version, and that's
I mean, we do have to kind of limit the amount of phrasings, especially in the beginning, and focus on the most important things. I mean, inputs and outputs are something that we spoke about last time that we haven't mentioned here at all.
Yeah, and there are 2 other things. There are reverts that we didn't talk about. And there is also like versioning of this process, and if something changes, how that works.
yeah, and triggers.
So there is a revert, but there is also what was mentioned. There should be a flag. Is something revertible or not? Or rollbacks.
Yes, rollback is better term. Yeah.
Heads up, we have around 5 minutes left.
Okay. I mean, what else you said something obvious that we.
There is the life cycle for this like deployment process. So there are the versions of that tracked, and like if you want to change something while things are running, that's a separate.
You mean modifying the whole flow?
Yeah, adding a block or removing a block or changing the block steps. Maybe like because we are limited with time, we can just like list like that the major topics that we discussed on previous one. And
Yeah.
Inputs, outputs are not on this list. Yeah.
I mean, in practice, those are artifacts that are identified somehow. And it can be only a string, or it can be a binary, or a link to somewhere, so on.
also like
I mean, these stages, these obviously have outputs.
Yeah.
Version is one of the outputs. These maybe not so much.
But I have a question. So here it says CI, but is that like for one repository, and then because I may have multiple projects that need to have CI pipelines
multiple
finished.
things need to be built, right?
Yeah, before I deploy to stage, or maybe I need just.
I mean, we can say backend, front-end, mobile app. I don't know if it's the best example, but
And there will probably
API.
be.
I would say if all of them are producing one artifact, let's say like one set of images or like one version, then you can replace all of these three with like one CI box, right? But if they are producing three separate artifacts that have a separate life cycle, then we need like 3 boxes here.
I mean, we need n of whatever, and because one is going to be a problem.
Yeah, but like that one box, when you expand it, can have inside it multiple of these, right?
Well, that's something that we haven't talked about. Maybe let's touch upon that. So each of these, what we are calling now blocks, can be mapped to Semaphore pipeline. And what it is today, let me just add one screenshot for the sake to represent it somehow. So let's say block can be implemented by Semaphore pipeline. And then when you, let's say, double click on this, you get something like this. But block, we should be flexible and allow people to implement block by anything that can be running, as people have their own deployment tools, and it can be for some things, for whatever reasons, it needs to be a Jenkins job, or it needs to be ArgoCD workflow, or whatever else. So, I mean, we'll see, but I guess we'll need some kind of abstraction for executable. And then, what it can be, obviously, Semaphore pipeline, but it can be Jenkins job. It can be Argo sync, apply, whatever. Or it can be maybe just git commit and push to a repo.
Yeah. I remember a few other things we should note here from that discussion. There was a question about what if I change the definition of this and remove one of these blocks.
There's that hardcore topic of like how how is the life cycle of
Yeah.
this managed?
Yes.
Because you cannot just come here, right click, delete.
Yeah.
You can, but
Yeah.
No, we should not make that available. I mean,
yeah.
You have that point in that like how our changes director, but it might apply.
yeah.
I might need a bit more clarification.
Oh, okay,
That-
okay,
that-
okay. Got it. Yes. That's it. Okay. Okay. Good start.
Yeah, maybe we could end it here.
Oh, we have to. There's another sync coming up.
Okay. And that's it. Thank you guys. See you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.